Today I'm going to talk about The Miracle. The 13th album by Queen was released on May 22nd, 1989. It is celebrating 35 years. The album is pretty unique for a few reasons. This is the second to last album before Freddie Mercury died. The band knew that Freddie Mercury was diagnosed with HIV at the time, although it had not been made public. I remember when this album came out because I remember seeing the music video for I Want It All. And I think they premiered it on Headbangers Ball, if I'm not mistaken. I remember thinking it was kind of strange that this band that I used to listen to when I was a kid, I grew up listening to their older albums, specifically The Game. That was the album that had Another One Bites the Dust. But this was years later, and I had forgotten about the band for a few years. This came out, I was 18 years old. I was getting into heavy music, and I remember being surprised seeing that Queen had a new album, and this was the first single. I'll talk more about that later. I Want It All was a hair metal type of song, and I think that's what they were going for. But when you listen to this type of album, half of the album is like stuck in the 80s. There's some new wave influence. Other parts of the album, they're trying to be a little heavier, like hair metal. But as always, Queen knew how to write a good album, so let's talk more about it. So for some background on the album, I found it interesting that the original name of the album was going to be The Invisible Man, the name of another one of the singles. But they had changed it 3 weeks before they released it. It was also a very popular album. It was fairly big in the U.S. It reached 24 in the U.S. Billboard charts, and it hit #1 in other countries such as UK, Austria, Germany, Netherlands, and Switzerland. Let's talk about the album cover. It's an image of the four members with their faces morphed, and we've seen that many times with other bands. Even Metallica did it on their Hardwired album. But back in 1989, it was not easy to create this type of image because Photoshop wasn't around at the time. I mean, now anyone can make this image on your phone and just check out my thumbnail. But it's pretty easy. Back then, they had to use different types of technology, and I think for that reason, this album cover is very iconic. The album was very popular. A lot of critics loved it. Some critics hated it. I'm looking at a couple of reviews quickly, and some of the publications gave it 5 stars, others gave it 2 stars or 1 star, and it was kind of a divisive album, I guess, but some fans consider this album and The Game to be their best albums of the 80s. Let's talk more about the album. There are 10 songs, 5 songs on each side. The album is 41 minutes. They released a few reissues over the years that had bonus tracks. I'm not going to get into those to keep this video respectable length. The album had 5 singles. First 2 songs were album tracks. I thought they were kind of weird. And it's interesting because the first 2 tracks are 2.5 minutes long each, kind of like give or take a couple seconds. The first one is called Party. This one began as a jam session between Freddie Mercury, Brian May, and John Deacon. Freddie Mercury plays the piano and Brian May sings lead on part of the song. The song starts off with a drum beat and Freddie Mercury singing, but then Brian May comes in later and starts to play some heavy metal inspired solos, I guess you can call it that. Then the second song, Khashoggi's Ship, had all 4 members writing lyrics. The song is about a famous billionaire whose name is Adnan Khashoggi and a ship that he owned at the time, which was one of the largest private yachts in the world. Now personally, I've never heard of this guy, but I'm sure he was popular in other parts of the world. 2 songs that seem to be connected as one goes into each other. The second song was more of a straightforward rock track. We have the title track called The Miracle. This was a single. It was the 5th single, actually, and it's a pretty popular song. I recognized it when I went back to revisit the album. The song was written by both Freddie Mercury and John Deacon. He came up with the basic chord structure of the song. The song is very deep. They're talking about God's creations, great and small. They mention structures like the Golden Gate Bridge, the Taj Mahal, and the Tower of Babel. And the idea behind the song was, we need a miracle to bring an end to war and bring peace on earth. They also mentioned characters such as Captain Cook, Cain and Abel, and Jimi Hendrix. The music video was very interesting because it had these 4 kids who play Queen when they were young, and there's one kid who plays Freddie Mercury. He appears as like the different versions of Freddie Mercury, such as the one from 1977 with the long hair, then the late 70s with the leather and mustache, and so on. It was a very unique type of music video. Then we have the song I Want It All. This was the one I remembered very well. I was talking about it at the beginning of the video. The song was written by Brian May, and it was the first single. It did pretty well in the charts in various countries. The band actually never played the song live while Freddie Mercury was alive, but the first time it was played was 3 years later in 1992 during the Freddie Mercury tribute concert after his death. And it was performed by the three remaining members of Queen. And they had Roger Daltrey of The Who on lead vocals and Tony Iommi of Black Sabbath playing rhythm guitar. Thought it was very interesting. The song was written back in 1988 before the band entered the studio. The meaning behind the song was about Brian May's feelings after his breakup with his first wife, Christine Mullen, and getting into a new relationship with Anita Dobson. And they are still married as far as I know. The song is rebellious and talks about social upheaval. It became an anti-apartheid song in South Africa and has been used as a gay rights theme as well. The music video is straightforward and it shows the band performing the song. It's also been reported that Freddie Mercury was starting to feel sick while they were recording the video, but they tried to hide his sickness while editing the video. Then there's a song, The Invisible Man. When I heard the song, it reminded me of Michael Jackson's Thriller. It was very different, but the band always kept the sound as Brian May still turned up the distortion on his guitar. The song was a weird combination of funk and synth pop. The song was written by Roger Taylor and he was on lead vocals along with Freddie Mercury. Lyrics were inspired by a book that Roger was reading and allegedly he wrote it in a bathtub. This was also the third single released in August of 19. The music video is based on a video game called The Invisible Man. A young boy is playing a game and the band play the bad guys. Freddie Mercury plays the boss, and when the band is performing, the boy tries to shoot them with a game controller. The boy and the band engage in some shenanigans, and the video ends with a game over sign on the screen. Side 2 begins with the song Breakthru. The song is about overcoming obstacles and pushing forward into a new phase of life. The lyrics convey a sense of determination and urgency. Some of the lines of the song are "I'm breaking free" and "Gotta break through." The song has two sections. The first part is a slow operatic intro and the second is a more fast-paced rock section. The music video is very iconic. It takes place on a real steam train filmed on the Nene Valley Railway in England. The video was shot in 2 days, which was surprising considering the elaborate train sequences. Next is the album track called Rain Must Fall. The music was written by John Deacon and the lyrics by Freddie Mercury. The song can be interpreted in different ways. It appears to be about someone with a charmed life who calls the shots, and rain is used as a metaphor for setbacks. The song was very 80s sounding with a synth pop sound that had some reggae sounds and calypso style drum beats. I like it because it showed how versatile the band was. Scandal was written by guitarist Brian May. He was frustrated with the media's intrusion into his personal life, including his divorce and his new relationship, and it was conveyed in the lyrics. The video for the song features the band performing on stage and it's designed to look like a newspaper. The song also had a very 80s sound. Then there's a song, My Baby Does Me, and this is a lighter track. Some of Brian May's guitar playing reminded me of Carlos Santana. This was a deep cut. It was never released as a single. The final song is called Was It All Worth It? It's mostly written by Freddie Mercury, but the band helped him with the lyrics. The song is some of the band's operatic style with some orchestration. The song is about pursuing a dream and making sacrifices. It also has some heavy guitars in parts of the song. So that's all. Let me know what you think of this album. It's one of their later day albums, so it doesn't get a lot of attention. But I thought I'd talk about it. I haven't done a lot of Queen album reviews, but check this one out. I did it a while ago. Thanks for watching. Please like this video. Please subscribe. And please comment. And thanks for watching. And I'll see you in the next one.